What's going on, Bet Records? We are back with another kind of sports video. We're going to talk about last week's NFL fantasy contests and some kind of upset games from week 5, moving on to some MMA as well. I got Justin with us here, doing a little bit of a different video on Zoom just to kind of get some quick content out for you guys here. Justin, I know you had a close matchup last week in fantasy. How are the teams looking like? Who are you facing? Talk us through that.
Yeah, I barely squeezed this one out. I won by zero point 0.7 points.
Oh,
And
actually?
yeah, so I had nobody playing in the Chiefs Raiders game, and the person I was playing had the Raiders kicker, and I had like a 17-point lead, and I was like, okay, there's no way.
Yeah.
And the kicker, Carlson, ended up dropping 16 points. And in the final 2 minutes, the Raiders actually in the red zone went for it on 4th down. And I was so happy. And they didn't end up getting it. So an extra point and I would have lost the game.
Right. If they would have got that touchdown at the end, Carlson kicked the field goal, you would have lost. Because literally, you're right. 0.7 points. I didn't even realize that. You only scored 94. What kind of went wrong this week for you?
Well, another one of my running backs is out for the season.
Oh shit, that's right. Talk about that.
Yep. So 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago? I lost Javonte Williams, the Broncos. I forget what he's out with the season with. He was my first running back pick.
Yep,
And
ACL something.
yeah, and he wasn't really producing because this year my strategy was all about wide receivers, the big scorers.
Yep.
So I kind of got some okay running backs, and then I picked up Rashad Penny, and now he's out for the year. He fractured his tibia, so that's something that you're not coming back with.
Nope, definitely not this season. I mean, he had that one good game against Detroit, and then not so much. But it finally looked like Seattle with Geno Smith as their quarterback was clicking on offense, and it's unfortunate he went down this past week. You don't have Kenneth Walker out here, do you?
I don't.
Shoot, Kenneth Walker, number one, probably waiver wire ad this week if he's not rostered. I believe he's like probably around 50% rostered in most leagues. Definitely, someone to look forward to there. I know you grabbed Jamar Chase in the first round of our draft as well. What do you kind of think about his performance so far as well this season?
He'd be performing a lot better if Joe Burrow wasn't getting sacked every other play.
That's true.
Bengals were all going into the season after losing the Super Bowl, basically saying how they've improved their offensive line. From what I've seen, it's actually gotten worse. I mean, Jamar Chase in the first game got 23 points. Ever since then, he's averaging like 8 to 10. And even then, he's only starting to get those points at the end of the game when things get tight. So if Burrow I shouldn't say Burrow. I should say the Bengals offensive line, if they can protect Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase would be putting up numbers because that's his favorite target.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just, Cincinnati, just like you said, is they kind of threw all their cards in on the offensive line this preseason and, we'll be just fine. And they're looking just like they did last year. Joe Burrow within the first couple of weeks was already on point for over 100 sacks this season. I don't know what he's at now. But yeah, it's definitely not getting better.
No, I hear you there. Last week, so my 2 wide receivers that are my starters are Chase and Deebo Samuel. Deebo's been having a pretty good year. Last week he had a good game. He had 10 points, but I think San Francisco had a running back comeback. I forget who it was, but he actually had a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other wide receiver that didn't do anything was Christian Kirk. I think it's just an off week for him. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk on ESPN about how Trevor Lawrence is like starting to bust. He was basically coming this year with a chip on his shoulder, rookie year, didn't really live up to standards. And he came out in the first 4 weeks and looked amazing. But ever since then, he just hasn't really been producing. My best player this week, who actually I had on my bench, was Jacoby Myers for the Patriots.
Yep.
I didn't want to play him because I'm still not really sold on Bailey Zappi. as the third stringer. But somehow the Patriots shut out the best offense in the NFL.
Yeah, no, Detroit's given up the most points, and they also have been scoring the most points up until this week. Yeah, you're right. Shut them out. That's probably one of the biggest upsets. I don't want to say, oh, right, the Lions lost again, upset, right? But for them to not score a single point, obviously there's a lot of injuries involved this week, which did not help Jared Goff at all. Swift is out, and the Patriots do have a very great defense as well. They're pretty solid on both sides of the ball. It's hard to play any wide receiver for the Patriots, but I'm surprised you were jumping the gun with that pickup. You must have grabbed him last week off the waivers or something.
I grabbed who?
Myers, Jacoby.
No, I drafted him.
Did you really? So you had him this whole time, and you've just been waiting for his day to shine, and it finally came.
Yeah, but when you have two out of the best top 10 wide receivers in the league, and Samuel and Chase, of course I'm going to start them.
Yep.
And then Christian Kirk just coming out guns a-blazing in the first couple weeks. That's just easy right there.
Yeah.
But I believe that this week I will be starting Jacoby Myers over Christian Kirk, as Jacoby Myers will be playing against Cleveland, which is like a mid-tier defense. Yep. And Christian Kirk is playing against Indianapolis with a stellar defense. So I'm going with Jacoby Myers over, and probably the Jaguars are going to lose to the Colts.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be a tough game to kind of watch this week. I see MVS even scored 12 points on your bench. Are you looking that direction at all, or?
He finally had a good game.
I know.
I was drafting him, and then I just look at his score every single week: 6, 6, 2, 7. And this week finally got 12, which,
yeah. It was a shootout game. It was a high passing, game for both offenses in this one. We saw Vegas come up, real early, a straight bomb to Adams. Kansas City was sleeping a couple times. He got 2 bombs. It was just like they were kind of letting Adams run by himself, and let's hope he doesn't catch the ball. I don't know what the whole deal or plan was there, but I mean, he got 2 touchdowns, over 150 receiving yards. Kansas City with Mahomes, of course, came back in the second half. I think it was, 20-10 or something even at halftime. It came back. Kansas City scored 10 points. And then I believe continued and did win by that single point, as we mentioned earlier as well.
Yeah, definitely. You can never count them out.
Nope.
As long as you have Mahomes in the outfield, it doesn't matter what the lead is. You can just go down the field, march down there, and make it look elementary.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and we kind of talked about tight ends before the show, and about trying to move some tight end pieces around. There is nothing out there, but last week, Taysom Hill. I can probably look it up, see how many points he got. I believe it was over 30.
Got like 30 something.
Right. Yeah. Last week. Yep. 34.5 PPR, 22 passing yards, a passing touchdown, 9 rushing attempts for over 112 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Is Taysom Hill a weekly start in fantasy football, Justin?
I guess it really depends who you have, because from what I see is that Taysom Hill is like marked as kind of like a QB and tight end flex.
Yep.
Well, I guess it really depends who you have as your quarterback. If you have Patrick Mahomes, obviously you're not going to start him over Taysom Hill.
No,
nope. You're not going to start Taysom Hill over Mahomes. But if you have like a garbage tight end, go for it.
Right. I think, we keep talking about Hayden Hurst and, Evan Ingram in Jacksonville, right? A lot of these guys, which, have a touchdown upside, but they're all kind of even with each other. Wouldn't say it's a major upside for getting a touchdown for those offenses in general. But with Taysom Hill, I think, if you're a Logan Thomas owner, right, and he's going to be out for at least another week or 2 here, and he hasn't been producing anyways all season, I think Taysom Hill's a solid start. I hate to say it. You're going to either get a goose egg, you might get 2 points, but hell, you might get 30 just like this week. So, it's a not a safe floor, just like any of these other tight ends out there. But in deeper leagues, you're wanting that upside. He's definitely got a high ceiling, but again, a solid low floor as well. So definitely worth the risk, I think, based on, kind of what we're seeing from these other tight ends out there. A lot of teams do and are holding, a couple tight ends as well, just because we know Kyle Pitts hasn't been producing. Dalton Schultz has been out for a couple of weeks and hasn't been doing very well. And Darren Waller just went down as well. So there's a lot of tight end movement. Most teams will have two. If he's still sitting out there, he needs to be rostered in every league. I'm not saying start him every week, but I don't think if he's your only option, I don't think it's a bad deal by any means.
I'm going to say, so in the draft, I was contemplating between Dalton Schultz and Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
And I'm so happy I took Goedert. So he's not really like a touchdown savvy guy. He only has one this year, but every single game, 10 points, consistent. Even if he's not scoring a touchdown, he's still one of Jalen Hurts' biggest targets and his most favorite too. A lot of the plays that he does with Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts just checks it down to him. Big guy just runs down the field. He gets it.
Yep. Big target. I mean, that's just what the tight end is for, right? We saw Travis Kelce get 2-3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. I don't even remember anymore on the past game against Las Vegas. That's one of the main reasons they won and pulled that one through. But you just chuck it to that big guy, and if they're healthy, they're solid, right? The biggest thing with, again, a lot of the names I mentioned before, and a lot of the tight ends drafted within the first 4 or 5 rounds have had injury concerns. Every single one of them, except for Kelce and Mark Andrews. Maybe those are the only 2 that I can think of, but those 4 guys after that, even George Kittle hasn't been performing as well as people were to hope when drafting him. So I definitely like Goddard as well. I think you definitely walked away with that one. He's a young stud that should have a lot of, or I should say it shouldn't have a lot of injury concerns. That's why they got rid of Ertz when they could, and Goddard's the guy now. So definitely
Ertz is still up there in the top 10 in tight ends.
Oh yeah. And I'm honestly surprised. Right? I'm surprised, and I traded for him because I took freaking Cole Kmet, and we all know how that's been going for the Bears this season so far. Dropped him, traded for Ertz because he's super solid. My only concern is the age. I mean, he's getting up there in age. Tight ends, they can get up there in age. Linemen get up there a little bit. It's kind of the running back and quick wide receivers. Some of the smaller build guys that can only take so many hits, right? But Ertz has always had injury concerns as well. I would not doubt if he's out for a couple weeks, some point in the season. But he's certainly solid. And Philadelphia gave up a good player, but I don't remember what they got in return for him, but they knew Goddard was going to be their guy. You got Hurts, this young quarterback, that he needs to get some connection with the younger guy. Ertz wasn't the long end tight end for Hurts, honestly, in that offense. I think that's a smart move.
Because I was going to say the big thing about tight ends is what I've noticed from watching football my entire life is that it's not really about age with the tight end. It's really about how much damage you take.
Yeah.
Because with a big position like that, you're usually like running up the middle or even a check down, and people are just running full speed and running right into you. Rob Gronkowski is the perfect example. Gronk's like 33, 34.
Yep.
It still was producing in his final years, and just it was the damage because knee injuries. I remember the game. I went to the game where he tore his ACL against the Cleveland Browns in New England, and then you look at guys like Tony Gonzalez, who a couple of years short of 40. He was still one of the top tight ends because he never really took any damage or had any big injuries.
Right. And I really think it comes down to what offense, these tight ends are on for each team. If you're an offense because the tight end, I don't know what the stat would be, but what would you say? They block half of the time they're on the field and they go up for a pass the other half, give or take, right? Depends on the offense, of course.
So usually if they line up and it's kind of like an end zone kind of situation on the 1 yard line, they'll be lined up as a blocker. They'll fake a block and then they just go out for a fade. Like inside the 5 yard line's the perfect tight end kind of touchdown zone.
Yep. Red zone. Yep. You're not trying to bomb it to a tight end. They're a great big target, right? But a lot of them are pretty quick.
They're going to muscle their way into the end zone.
Right. Exactly. Yep. I mean, and we see, Kyle, I don't even know how you say his last name, San Francisco, Juszczyk. He's a fullback, right? He's not a tight end. He's not a running back. But what would you say, a fullback? Do you think that's closer to a running back or a tight end or neither?
I would say a fullback's more of a tight end because
That's kind of what I
Because
think too.
at the end of the day, is a tight end really gonna run for like a 90-yard touchdown off a sprint? No, because they're more of that guy right behind the quarterback that's gonna lead a blocking lane
Yep.
for a running back, and sometimes might even go out for a pass. And then I'm trying to think, because I remember James Devlin for the Patriots. He's retired now. He's considered one of the greatest fullbacks of all time for his ability to just open up a running lane when LeGarrette Blount was playing for the Patriots, and
Yep.
other running backs the Pats have had too. And at the same time, some days he would fake a block when there was nothing, and
Right.
Brady would toss him the ball. There you go, and then run to the end zone. Nobody could take him down because he was just kind of a beefy guy. So I would put a fullback more on a tight end's level.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I mean, a running back, well, running back blocks too, but nonetheless, we'll end that end that discussion. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Is fullback like Kyle Juszczyk closer to a tight end or running back? I think I agree with you 100% as well. But let us know what you guys think in the comments. Couple.
Please challenge me in the comments. I'm
Let's see.
sick of everybody agreeing with me.
let's see and hear your takes. Drop them below for sure. Let's see what we get. Couple of games I wanted to bring up, kind of interesting teams, and they're kind of dealing with injury, some of these. The main one I'll bring up to start is the Jets. Pretty decent blowout against the Dolphins this week's final score was 17-40. Of course, we know Tua was injured. That's probably the biggest factor of this. The Jets were at home. I didn't watch this game personally, but do you have any thoughts truly on kind of the situation with Miami and what's to come?
Well, I'll say this about the Dolphins. They started off really good, but
Yep.
now this team has so many distractions around them. First, you start with they're losing a draft pick because they were tampering with Tom Brady a couple of years ago. So that's a distraction right there. And number two, and the biggest distraction is the possibility that they're going to get sued by Tua because they failed the concussion pro. I shouldn't say the Dolphins. I should say the NFL might get sued because of that, because 10 years ago, they made this all about concussion protocol. They made it up and they failed so badly with Tua. It's
Right.
just out of the point where the Dolphins have distractions left and right. So, after week 3, they were undefeated before they lost to the Bengals. They were favorites to win the Super Bowl in the top 5, and now that's dropped dramatically.
Yes. Yeah, no, 100%. Do you think truly, and that maybe I misreading something, do you think truly it's going to be Tua that kind of sues or does something in this situation? Or is it maybe like, the behind the scenes medical staff, they're going to have a deeper dive into kind of what happened behind the scenes?
I mean, that's totally up to Tua if he wants to
Fair.
take that out.
That's true.
He most definitely can, and he would probably win that because of the evidence is just overwhelming. But if he doesn't want any distractions, he'll just say water under the bridge and let's just move on with it.
Yeah.
But I was even talking with my dad. He said he could easily sue them and win.
I suppose. And that's kind of one of those things, how do you write the verbiage exactly? Okay, you need to check all the stuff. Is there something better that should have happened? Of course, but I haven't, dug into it super deep. Of course, I don't know why he was put back on the field at the end of the day, and that's honestly where the conversation should be focused on. He shouldn't have honestly gone back to 1 week, and he came back the week after, and we'll see when he comes back and how he come back.
So did you see those 2 really soft roughing the passer penalties on Sunday and on Monday night on Derek Carr and on Tom Brady?
Tom Brady was the other one. Yes, I did. What are your thoughts? Because the Derek Carr one, the ball was like coming out or something, right?
And so what it was with the Brady one was the guy wrapped him up and then flinged him to the ground instead of actually tackling him, which by rule, that technically is a roughing the passer, but that is, in my opinion, that's soft. Like, he's a man. I can hit him.
He's playing football. He knows what he signed up for, right? Everyone knows as soon as they step on the field, even if you're on the bench, right? Because we see how many plays get extended down on the bench, out of bounds, right? And you knock up people over. You know what you're signing up for, and you know where you're standing, right? So I feel like a lot of these rules are, fair for the safety of the players, right? But at the same time, as a defensive point of view, it's kind of like the odds are stacked against you. You can do this, but you can't do A through Z, right? It's kind of harder to be a defender, I feel like, at this day and age of the game.
No, most definitely. I will say that the one on Derek Carr, Chris Jones, that's by far the worst one I've ever seen. They're basically saying because like he fell on him with his body weight. Okay, I sacked him.
Yeah.
It's a sack. And
probably
I don't know. Did you see Troy Aikman got in trouble, like got grilled on social media because right afterwards he said in quotes, hopefully the PA can take a look at this and we can take the dresses off.
Nice. He actually got in trouble behind the scenes for it.
He's not getting, well, there's no like of him like getting fired or anything. He's just getting grilled on social media right now.
Interesting. Okay. So it's a little bit of a Twitter war. All right. I have not seen that.
It's just basically people calling him a misogynist, which I mean, you can make the case that's a misogynistic comment, but at the same time, like football is football. It's kind of like being in the army. A practice in the NFL is crazy. You got those coaches trying to motivate you. They want you to be tough and all that. I don't think he's issued an apology yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single thing on it, so I would guess not. But
me personally, I just think everyone's overreacting about it. Like, okay, it is what it is. Like, he said it. Obviously, he shouldn't have said something like that because it's inappropriate. But
right,
are you going to call for the guy to be fired? You're on the mic a lot. You're bound to miss the mark sometimes.
No,
you know firsthand from our show.
Yep, that's very true, especially with the live videos we've been doing. And yeah, there was I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was when Hayden Hurst caught his touchdown. The Bengals announcer said, he's so happy to score on his old team, the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's scoring with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm like, okay, he just mixed that up in his head and it came out wrong, but we all knew what he meant right at the end of the day. So we got a couple minutes left of this one here. The biggest news story of the week I wanted to hit, and I kind of forgot about it until we were talking about this off-field kind of distraction issues, was we talked about the Kansas City and Vegas Raiders game. Came close, lost by 1 point. Devante Adams a little bit frustrated after the game. Walking out of the tunnel, they lost by 1. They should have won against Kansas City at Kansas City. They were leading the whole game pretty much, right? Walks to the tunnel, shoves two-handed, right? We got it on camera. It was live. Shoves one of the cameramen, one of the press guys, I believe. Then walks into the locker room, and that was kind of it. What have you seen kind of post that video when it came out, and what are your kind of thoughts, Justin?
I'm not a fan of that. It's like the guy's walking through a path and you're just going to shove him out of the way just because of your frustrations that your team didn't win.
Right.
Dude, grow up. You have every right to be suspended and be fined for that. That's against the personal conduct policy in the NFL, whether you're on or off the field. Stuff like that is not acceptable, especially to a guy who obviously can't defend himself. Right. Look at the size of Devante Adams. Look at the size of the camera guy. Why did you do that? I get you're frustrated, but that's how you do it. Like, come on.
Right. And I mean, he's got, and I can't remember exactly what he all had on, but they got equipment on. They got, I don't know what color it is, but he's holding a whole.
They hurt the guy.
Yeah. So it's not like, I don't know. That's, at the end of the day, truly, the Rage Monster just got the best of them, right? Vegas Raiders in general have been frustrated as all dog shit just because, we got Devante Adams. Our team almost made it to the playoffs last year, right? And all this and that. And here we are. They're not looking so hot so far. And, Devante Adams had another great game, 2 touchdowns, as we mentioned before, 150 yards. So I definitely got the frustration. But at this point now, supposedly that reporter was rushed to the hospital for head injuries, I believe I read, and he is suing Devante Adams as well, and this will be an
rightfully so. In all honesty, you show up, you're a production guy, you show up to work. The last thing you expect is for an NFL player like this big guy to just on purpose knock you to the ground, right? Personal performance. You do have those camera guys on the sideline who get knocked down just from players like going out of bounds, but that's obviously not intentional.
Right.
And that's in their contract. This might happen. It doesn't say in their contract when they sign up in their job description, there's a possibility that an NFL player will be frustrated and lay his hands on you.
Right.
That's not in the job description.
Nope. And Devante Adams did put out an apology the next morning, and I don't know if that was before or after he heard about the legal cases. I definitely think, it was just his heat of the moment, and I don't know why he truly did it, because he's not a player. If it was a player on Kansas City or even on his own team, I'm not saying that it would be okay, right? But it's just kind of odd that it's a random cameraman from the press, right? That's kind of my thing. Definitely, of course, uncalled for. Shouldn't have happened either, nonetheless. And this will be an ongoing issue. I think he will at least get fined, not suspended.
I was talking to my buddy last night about it, and he said that he shouldn't be suspended for it. And I asked him, why not? That is definitely suspendable.
Yeah, because I don't know. That's tough, and really, we're going to see how it kind of plays out. Maybe the team even decides to suspend him if the NFL doesn't. We saw the Alvin Kamara stuff this off season in Vegas, and of course, he didn't get punished so far as we are aware. And that was, again, off the field, not recorded, not posted everywhere, and not NFL personnel and true player right after the game. Right, this was way a public scene. But I think, a little bit they're comparable. We'll kind of just see what happens with that one.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, that's it. Going to be it for this one. Make sure you're sticking tuned. We're going to be doing a little MMA, UFC kind of, preview of some stuff going on, some kind of behind the scenes Twitter beef that's popping up. So make sure you're following along and check out for that one. Thanks again for tuning in as always. Thanks, Justin, for joining me for this special episode. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.